had a client who spent over a year of trial and error trying to build a sales dashboard before coming to us. Now we have it fully built and running within 3 weeks. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I used AI and automations to build this so you can build it for yourself. By the end, you should be able to go from complete chaos within your CRM to one consolidated dashboard that you can see all of your key metrics. Let's get into it. So the first layer of any sales dashboard is your data source, which is wherever your actual sales activity lives. For most agencies, this could be your CRM, but it also could be things like your ESP, your call software, or really anywhere that new leads and deal activity are getting logged. So this is why building out a proper CRM infrastructure is so important, because if your CRM is unorganized, your pipelines and your KPIs is going to be inaccurate. So a good example of a CRM that is properly configured is one of our clients. In here, you can see that we have stages such as canceled, no-show discovery call, no-show follow-up call, no-show audit call, discovery call booked, and discovery call showed follow-up, and much, much more. These pipeline stages allow us to gather the information that we need in order to get the KPIs later down the line. Now, without this pipeline, you just have a bunch of disconnected records within your CRM. So the pipeline is what takes the data out, structures it, and gets ready to be measured against. Now, inside of the leads part of their CRM, they also have these things called custom activities. In this build out, we were using something called Close CRM. It's a very cheap CRM that has most of the functionality that you'd be looking for when you're starting a business. And we built out these custom activities such that the closer or the salesperson can go in and mark whenever an action is completed. So whenever each of these events happen, the closer ensures that they mark these data points. Without this, we wouldn't be able to have 100% source of truth, which means the data that waterfalls down wouldn't be accurate. So again, you need to make sure that you have a strong pipeline and have all the data points listed here, such as cash collected, post-audit call completed, post-disco call completed. You want to make sure that you're gathering all of the data points that you actually want to track. So in order to create a sales dashboard like the one that I'm about to show you, you need both a clean CRM with the right pipeline data, and this is where we move on to layer 2. We need the automation layer. This layer is where you actually decide what you're measuring. This is where we start pulling usable data because now the source is accurate. Now remember, we can't go into this automation layer until we've set up the CRM infrastructure. So make sure that all of the data inside of there is 100% true. So this means that we're now able to pull specific numbers out of the data instead of just staring at a list of leads and deals. Now, the core sales KPIs stand for key performance indicators. The main key KPIs that I get for every business is the close rate, pipeline value, new leads, average deal size, revenue, and acquisition cost per channel. Now, there are a lot more that could be relevant within your business. You just need to make sure that you pick the right KPIs that let you make actionable decisions. Now, the exact KPIs you display can vary based off your business. And the way that I decide what goes on the dashboard comes down to one major question. Will this number change a decision that you make next week? If not, just leave it off. Most businesses want to track everything, but a dashboard with 20 KPIs stops getting looked at week 2. The ones that are worth including are metrics tied to a lever you can pull. Close rate's a good example because if it drops, you know you need to fix your sales process. Cost per acquisition by channel tells you where to invest your money next month. And pipeline value is a good example because it tells you whether you should hire or hold. All right, now you might be asking, when we're on this automation layer, how do we actually gather this KPI from the source? So here's actually how to take information from the data source and calculate the KPIs using automation. So you can see here that I have an automation here in Make.com. You can use so many different tools like Make.com, NAN, Zapier, or you can actually build this agentically if you'd like. But in this case, I used NAN. And let's just go through some of these basic automations that fires every single week based off the information from the CRM. At a high level, I'll walk you through how these systems work. We start out with the closed CRM module. And this is the main purpose of this is that we are wanting to search all of the leads. So we're going to go through the leads based off a timer, and we're going to set some of the variables. So we're going to get the lead ID, get the lead themselves, check out the opportunities, and we're going to want to read the cash collected card and the scheduled disco call card. Both of these cards are those custom activities that I mentioned earlier, which contains the data the closer logged. We set specific variables here based off all the information from those cards, and we put it into a location that will be relevant later. We have multiple places where we create records or update records where we store the actual data that we get from the automations. Depending on not this was a discovery call or an audit call or a normal schedule, we update the table at different places, as well as we can check different data sources to see which data points are actually accurate. If I head back here, we could check the other part. Let's actually check the disco call one. This is a disco call automation. You can see that there's a lot of extra pieces here as I was building it out. But the same exact thing, we search through the closed CRM, we iterate through all of the leads. We're looking for the post disco call card. So again, this is that custom activity that the closer fills out. And then again, we store it into a location that we'll talk about later. So once you have that set up, now you need to focus on where to store the data. You could technically stop here and have automations just have loose data sitting around. But this is where the next layer comes in and makes the whole thing way more useful. By the way, if you're a business owner who wants a sales dashboard built out for your business, or you want to see what other AI automations and AI agents could be saving you time, I do free audits where I go through your entire business and find the biggest bottlenecks so I can show you exactly where something like this could be built. So if you want one, click the first link below the video. Now let's keep going. All right. So now we're at layer 3. Now, so far we have set up the source. The source goes through automations. And the automations now need a place to put the data that it calculated. So just because we're now able to get that data doesn't mean we have a place to put it. The automations are pulling numbers and running calculations, but those numbers need to live somewhere. Without a database, every calculation is a one-time event. You see the number, it disappears, and there's no history. The database is what turns a dashboard from a snapshot to an actual system. Once the data is being stored, you can look at close rate this month versus last month, see how pipeline value has trended over the last 6 months. You can see how pipeline value has trended across the quarter, or pull up cost per acquisition from 6 months ago and compare it to today. None of that is possible if the automations are just calculating and displaying without actually storing the data. So real quick on the screen here, we have an example of the database that is the back end of the dashboard that I built for them. You can see here we have information like lead name, lead status, opportunity status, date won, disco scheduled, rescheduled disco, and all of the data points from the CRM that is calculated to real KPIs that we need for the dashboard. You can see there are different tabs like revenue, sales and audit cycles, and current sales pipeline that has been storing historical data for years. So now we get to the fun part. This is layer 4, visualization and the dashboard. Now, the final layer is visualization, which is how you turn all of this into something you can look at and understand in a few seconds. Because you can have the cleanest data and the smartest AI insights in the world, but if the dashboard is ugly or hard to read, nobody's going to use it. So the main visual elements you'll be working on are things like bar charts, pie charts, and color-coded statuses. Let me quickly show you an example of the dashboard that we made for them. This, as you can see here, we have the discovery call dashboard. We're able to pick the dates that we want. We can also just auto-filter from this week, this month, this quarter, and we can get data points like booked, total calls, attended, show rate, qualifier rate, offer rate, audit booked, and audit rate. So we're able to see all the numbers that we have, as well as the percentages, as well as see every KPI that would lead us to making better decisions based off information rather than feeling. We can also check other things like audit calls or sales data. We're able to see average sales price. We can see how many deals are small, medium, or large, as well as a visualization layer where we see again bar charts, pie charts, and we can visualize how their company is progressing. So let's get real quick on how to actually build this. To build something like this, we really can just use Claude. Remember, we've already done the heavy lifting. We set up the source, we set up the automations, and we also built out the database. So all we really need to do now is connect the database with Claude. All right, so just for a quick demo, I had Claude generate this sales database. I simply just said, give me a Google Sheets example database that stores sales data. So what you really want is a database that you built with your real CRM data. Let's say this is the database that you have after generating that. If we go to the sales section here, you have a lot of information, monthly summary, top customers. So we have a database that stores the data that would have been in our CRM. Now, what we could do is ask Claude, hey Claude, now that I have this sales database, can you create me a dashboard that summarizes all the KPIs that I need? And we'll let that run. But this is a very primitive version of how we create these types of things. But sometimes you don't really need an industry level dashboard. Sometimes you really just need a visual representation of the data that you already have. You can see it's already generating that we have a basic level dashboard here. We have the total revenue, gross profit, gross margin, average deal size, active customers, refund rate. It's already starting to generate KPIs without needing to analyze the database for 30 minutes or so. Just by plugging in an Excel sheet or an Airtable database, you're able to create dashboards that you can visually see how well your company is doing. It even has like the pie charts and the bar charts and splits up everything based off of category. So if you're a business owner watching this and you're looking to get something similar to this dashboard, but personalized to your company, you can click the first link in the description below to book an audit call with me. On that call, I'll go through your entire business and put together a plan of what we can build for you. Again, you could book a free audit by clicking the first link in the description. And if you want to learn how to use Claude Code to automate your entire business, then check out this video right here.